The squeak of Anya's new sneakers seemed amplified within the vast gym. It was her first day, and the sheer immensity of the space gave her pause. Gleaming treadmills lined the walls, reflecting the harsh overhead lights, while weight machines stood like stoic guardians, and a constant, low hum of exertion permeated the air. She gripped her water bottle, the plastic biting into her skin, and mentally urged herself to remain calm. Anya Petrova, certified trainer, was here to empower others. Behind the reception desk, Mark, the student worker, greeted her with an enthusiastic smile. "You must be Anya. Welcome to the Sweat Lodge." A smile flickered across Anya's face, easing some of her tension. "Thanks, Mark. Good to be here." Her inaugural class, HIIT. She'd meticulously designed the workout, striving for a balance between rigor and accessible modifications. As students began to arrive, anxiety coiled in her stomach. Would they embrace it? Would they even heed her instructions? The music surged to life, a rhythmic pulse reverberating through the floor. Anya inhaled deeply and launched into the warm-up, her voice steady and resonant as she guided them through jumping jacks and arm rotations. Slowly, her unease dissolved as she locked into the rhythm, the motion, the collective energy. Beads of perspiration glued strands of dark hair to her brow, but she persevered, demonstrating each exercise with meticulous form and offering words of encouragement. "You've got this. Just 10 more seconds. Embrace the challenge." The class responded in kind, faces flushed, muscles taut. Noticing some struggling, she quietly suggested alternatives, a gentler landing for the burpees, a lighter weight for the squats. By the time they reached the cool down, a shared sense of triumph filled the room. Anya felt it too, a wave of gratification. As the students stretched, she circulated, offering praise and answering questions. A young woman with vibrantly colored hair approached her. "That was killer, but fantastic. I'm Chloe." "I'm Anya," she replied, returning Chloe's handshake. "I'm happy you enjoyed it." Soon, a small group clustered around her, discussing their fitness aspirations and soliciting nutritional advice. A feeling of profound satisfaction warmed Anya from the inside out. This was her calling. Later, while tidying up after class, she discovered a discarded flyer tucked beneath a bench. It advertised a yoga workshop defaced with cruel graffiti in black marker. Anya's brow furrowed, a spark of indignation flaring within her. This was unacceptable. Everyone deserved respect and security, especially in a space dedicated to wellness. She smoothed out the paper, her jaw tightening. She'd need to discuss this with Mark. Stepping out of the gym, the sunset painted long shadows across the campus lawn. A group of students played frisbee, their carefree laughter floating on the evening air. She reflected on her own journey, the years of dedication, the sacrifices she'd made to arrive at this point. She refused to let anyone taint it. She wouldn't allow anyone to feel unwelcome. She was Anya Petrova, and she was prepared to defend it. The seeds of jealousy. Mark leaned against the doorframe of the gymnasium, feigning nonchalance as he watched Anya lead the warm-up. Sunlight streamed through the high windows, catching the blonde strands that had escaped her ponytail. Laughter rippled through the group of students, their faces flushed with exertion and something else, admiration. A knot tightened in Mark's stomach. He hated the way they looked at her, the easy smiles, the focused attention. It was the kind of attention he thought he deserved. He pushed off the doorframe and sauntered towards the cafeteria, the scent of lukewarm pizza and stale fries filling his nostrils. Derek and Kevin were already holding court at their usual table, a scattering of crumpled napkins and half-eaten sandwiches surrounding them like a protective barrier. "What's got your shorts in a twist?" Derek asked, his mouth full of something unidentifiable. Mark tossed his backpack onto the floor with unnecessary force. "It's Petrova. Everyone's suddenly obsessed with her." Kevin snorted. "Yeah, well, she's not bad to look at. And she actually makes gym class bearable for once." "That's not the point," Mark snapped, earning a few curious glances from nearby tables. He lowered his voice. "She thinks she's so great, waltzing in here and acting like she owns the place." Derek raised an eyebrow. "So, what's it to you?" Mark hesitated. He couldn't articulate the feeling, the simmering resentment that bubbled inside him every time he saw Anya. He just knew he needed to knock her down a peg. "I heard she got kicked out of her last school," he said, the lie slipping easily off his tongue. Derek and Kevin exchanged surprised glances. Kicked out? What for? Derek asked, leaning forward. Mark shrugged, feigning ignorance. I don't know, something about cheating. Or maybe it was fighting. I can't remember exactly. But she definitely left under a cloud. He watched their faces, gauging their reactions. He had their attention now. No way, Kevin said, but his tone held a hint of doubt. I'm just saying, don't be so quick to judge a book by its cover, Mark said, a smug satisfaction creeping into his voice. He knew how quickly rumors spread through the school. It wouldn't be long before everyone was questioning Anya's perfect image. By the end of the day, the whispers had begun. They started subtly, hushed conversations in the hallways, furtive glances in Anya's direction. But they grew louder, bolder, gaining momentum with each retelling. Anya noticed the change. The smiles were less frequent, the greetings more hesitant. She heard snippets of conversations as she walked by, words like cheating and trouble floating in the air like poisonous pollen. A cold dread settled in her stomach. She had faced rumors before, accusations hurled at her like stones. But this felt different, more insidious. She caught Mark watching her from across the courtyard, a flicker of something dark and triumphant in his eyes. She knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that he was behind it. Ignoring the noise, the murmurs swirled around Anya, a persistent, irritating cloud she refused to acknowledge. Let them chatter. Let them guess. Her focus remained on the task at hand. Liam, remember to brace your core, she instructed, her tone steady and encouraging. Liam, a gangly freshman whose cheeks perpetually burned crimson, struggled with the plank, his back arcing, his expression strained. Think of drawing your navel towards your spine. There. Feel that engagement. His eyes widened in surprise. Yeah, I think I do. He maintained the pose, albeit shakily, for a few precious seconds. Wow, that makes a difference. Thanks. Anya offered a genuine smile. Anytime, Liam. Don't forget to breathe. She moved on, surveying the buzzing weight room. It was overflowing, a testament to the burgeoning popularity of her classes. The athletic director had even commended her on the spike in gym usage. That acknowledgement resonated, a separate affirmation that cut through the gossip. Later, Anya launched Fight Fit, a novel cardio blast merging kickboxing moves with dynamic plyometrics, all synced to a thumping electronic pulse. The class became an instant craze. Students laughed as they fumbled their way through the combinations, perspiration gluing strands to their foreheads. Even members of the football team, typically dismissive of anything beyond their regimen, joined in, their heavy grunts and groans a percussive counterpoint to the music. This beats endless laps any day, a hulking lineman wheezed, mopping his brow. Afterward, Maya, a slight girl who habitually kept to the back, approached Anya, her face radiant with exertion. That was incredible. I actually feel powerful, and sure of myself. That's the point, Anya said, giving Maya's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. Strength goes deeper than just lifting, Maya. It's about inner conviction. The positive energy invigorated her. Anya immersed herself in her work, crafting innovative routines, devouring research on nutrition, and even orchestrating a campus-wide fitness initiative. The din quieted somewhat, replaced by the clang of iron, the measured respiration of her students, and the quiet joy of witnessing their transformation, both in body and spirit. One afternoon, exiting the gym, a snatch of conversation snagged her attention. Two girls huddled by the water cooler, their voices lowered. Saying she instigated everything, one hissed. Anya's stride faltered. So, he was disseminating his version of events. A familiar surge of anger threatened to engulf her. But then, she recalled Maya's jubilant face, Liam's newfound self-assurance, the glistening, fulfilled smiles of her students. She squared her shoulders, inhaled deeply, and continued onward. Let him spin his tales. Let them believe what they chose. She knew the truth, and she had more pressing matters to attend to, individuals who needed her, individuals she could uplift. The noise persisted, a low-level drone, but she was learning to filter it out, to discern the authentic signal from the extraneous static, the signal of her own inner fortitude. A prank is planned. I'm telling you I'm done. Mark slammed his fist on the sticky table in the campus cafeteria, making Derek jump. She's insufferable. Anya this, Anya that. It's all anyone talks about. Kevin, picking at a stray piece of lettuce clinging to his burger, mumbled, "Chill, dude. She's just good at her job." "Exactly!" Mark exploded, spraying a fine mist of soda. "Too good. Makes the rest of us look bad. Something needs to happen." He leaned in conspiratorially. "Something public." Derek, ever eager to please Mark, perked up. "Like what?" Mark paced, agitation radiating off him like heat from the greasy grill. "I don't know yet. Something that'll knock her down a peg. Humiliate her. Show everyone she's not so perfect." He stopped pacing and glared at a passing group of students, their laughter grating on his nerves. "Think, you idiots. What's her weakness?" Kevin shrugged. "She seems pretty tough. I saw her deadlifting like twice my weight the other day." "Not physical, you moron!" Mark snapped. "Something embarrassing. Something that plays on her image." He tapped his chin, his eyes gleaming with a nascent idea. "The garden. That stupid little garden she's always going on about. Says it's her sanctuary." Derek grinned, catching on. "So we mess with the garden?" "More than mess with it," Mark said, a cruel smile spreading across his face. "We lure her there. Then we expose her." He outlined his plan, a childishly elaborate scheme involving fertilizer, a tripwire, and a strategically placed sprinkler system rigged to go off at full blast. The details were crude, the intent malicious. Later that afternoon, under the guise of beautifying the garden, Mark, Derek, and Kevin lurked amidst the rose bushes, their movements furtive and clumsy. Mark, sweating despite the cool breeze, wrestled with the tripwire, securing it just above ankle height. Derek, giggling nervously, adjusted the sprinkler heads, aiming them with pinpoint accuracy at the small, stone bench where Anya often ate her lunch. Kevin, the least enthusiastic of the trio, scattered handfuls of pungent fertilizer around the flower beds, the smell clinging to his clothes. "Think she'll actually fall for it?" Kevin asked, wrinkling his nose at the stench. "She will," Mark said, his voice tight with anticipation. "I told her I found a rare orchid blooming here. Said she wouldn't want to miss it." He checked his watch. Any minute now. He pictured Anya, her blonde hair gleaming in the sun, tripping over the wire, face planting into the fertilizer-laden soil, the sprinklers drenching her in cold water. The thought sent a jolt of twisted satisfaction through him. This was it. His moment. He'd finally take her down. He could almost taste the sweet victory of her humiliation. He strained his ears, listening for the crunch of footsteps on the gravel path. The air crackled with a nervous energy, thick with the scent of roses and something far more sinister. He gripped the remote control for the sprinklers, his finger hovering over the button, ready to unleash his carefully orchestrated chaos. Any second now. Cornered in the garden, Anya inhaled deeply, the scent of roses and damp earth filling her lungs. The college garden offered a brief respite from the echoing clang of the gymnasium, a pocket of tranquility she desperately needed. Sunlight dappled through the leaves, painting shifting patterns on the flagstone path as she walked. She traced the delicate curve of a crimson bloom with her fingertip, momentarily lost in its velvet texture. "Well, well, well," a sneering voice shattered the peace. Anya's head snapped up. Mark Thompson, flanked by his usual sycophants, Derek and Kevin, blocked the path ahead. Mark's arms were crossed, a smirk plastered across his face. His usual swagger was amplified by the presence of his audience. "Look what the cat dragged in," Derek chuckled, earning a shove from Mark. Anya sighed inwardly. She'd hoped to avoid them today. "Excuse me," she said, her voice calm despite the knot forming in her stomach. She stepped to the side, intending to skirt around them, but Mark shifted, mirroring her movement. "In a hurry, trainer," Mark drawled, the word dripping with sarcasm. Anya stopped. "No, just enjoying the garden." Kevin snorted. "Yeah, right. Probably plotting how to make us all do more burpees." "Maybe," Anya said, a small smile playing on her lips. She refused to let them see they were getting to her. Mark's eyes narrowed. "You know, I was thinking," he said, taking a step closer, "that uniform of yours is a little restrictive. Don't you think?" His gaze lingered on her t-shirt, a predatory glint in his eyes. A wave of anger washed over Anya, hot and sudden. She clenched her fists, digging her nails into her palms. That's inappropriate, Mark. Inappropriate. He feigned surprise, turning to his friends. Did you hear that? I'm being inappropriate. Derek and Kevin roared with laughter. Maybe we should help you loosen things up a bit, Mark continued, taking another step. He was close enough now that Anya could smell the stale beer on his breath. I said, that's inappropriate, Anya repeated, her voice hardening. This time, it wasn't a request, but a warning. Mark ignored her. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the sleeve of her shirt. Just a little adjustment. Anya's patience snapped. Before he could react, she grabbed his wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. Don't touch me, she said, her voice low and dangerous. The smile was gone, replaced by a look of steely determination. Mark's eyes widened, surprised by her strength. He tried to pull away, but her grip tightened. Let go of me, Petrova, he hissed. You let go, Anya retorted, her voice unwavering. She could feel the eyes of Derek and Kevin on her, but she didn't look away from Mark. The air crackled with tension, the peaceful garden transformed into a battleground. A swift dodge. The humid air hung thick and heavy, smelling of overripe roses and simmering asphalt. Anya had tried to ignore Mark's swaggering approach, focusing instead on the wilting petunias, clinging to the garden's edge. But his shadow had fallen across them, broad and unwelcome, and she knew avoidance was no longer an option. Well, Mark drawled, his voice oily with mock surprise. If it isn't little Anya. Still hiding in the flowers. Anya straightened, pushing a stray blonde strand behind her ear. Leave me alone, Mark. Her voice was quiet, but firm. She refused to let him see her fear, the way her pulse had quickened into a frantic drumbeat. He chuckled, a low, guttural sound that sent a shiver down her spine. Why would I do that, sweetheart? We were just starting to have some fun. He took a step closer, invading her personal space. The sickly sweet scent of his cologne, something acrid and chemical, filled her nostrils. That shirt, it's really not doing you any favors. His eyes lingered on the thin cotton stretched across her chest. Anya's breath hitched. She knew what was coming, the taunts, the groping, the humiliation played out for the amusement of his cronies, who were now gathering at the edge of the garden, their faces flushed with anticipation. Seriously, Mark, she said, her voice gaining steel. Just stop. He grinned, a flash of teeth that was more predatory than charming. He reached out, his fingers hooking around the collar of her t-shirt. The fabric tightened against her skin. Anya's world narrowed to the feel of his rough hand, the gleam in his eyes, the mocking laughter bubbling from the onlookers. Then, everything shifted. Anya didn't think. She reacted. Years of disciplined training, honed reflexes buried beneath layers of gentleness, surged to the surface. It wasn't conscious, it was instinct. As Mark lunged, she pivoted, a swift, fluid movement that took her out of his reach. The air where she had been a split second before was now empty. His fingers, grasping for purchase, snagged only air. The momentum of his grab threw him off balance. For a heartbeat, he flailed, a clumsy giant momentarily disoriented. A gasp rippled through the small crowd. The laughter died in their throats. They had expected a victim, a scene of easy dominance. What they saw was something else entirely. Anya stood a few feet away, her eyes narrowed, her stance balanced and ready. Her face, moments ago pale with apprehension, now burned with a fierce, controlled anger. The wind picked up, whipping her blonde hair around her face like a golden halo. Mark, recovering his footing, stared at her with a mixture of shock and fury. The color drained from his face, leaving him looking pale and rattled. He had underestimated her badly. Someone in the crowd coughed nervously. The air, thick with anticipation just moments before, now crackled with uncertainty. The balance of power had shifted, subtly but undeniably. Anya had shown them, and him, that she was not the pushover they thought she was. The game had changed. Warning and rejection. Anya's breath caught. Reeking of discount aftershave and desperation, Mark invaded her personal space, his face florid, eyes gleaming with cruel intent. The guffaws of his entourage bounced off the ancient brick walls surrounding the rose garden. "Mark, don't," Anya pleaded, her voice laced with tremor, yet tempered by a surprising undercurrent of resolve. "Seriously, it's not funny." Retreating step by measured step, her fingers groped behind her for an escape that remained elusive. He pressed closer, a sneer plastered across his features. "Oh, I find it hilarious, Anya. Miss Prim and proper trying to play tough." His hand snaked out, fingertips grazing her forearm. A wave of icy fury washed over her. The fear evaporated, supplanted by a stark, focused calm. "I mean it, Mark. You really don't want to do this." He let out a harsh, low chuckle. "Oh yeah, and why is that? Gonna cry about it." Anya widened the gap between them, the delicate thorns of the rose bushes scraping against her denim. "I don't want to hurt you, but I will." Heat flared in her cheeks, betraying the steely resolve coalescing within her. "I've trained since childhood. MMA. I know how to handle myself." The words landed like a stone in the idyllic setting. Mark's posse fell silent, their laughter dissolving into a pool of uneasy quiet. Even they seemed to sense the shift in the air, the sudden gravity of Anya's declaration. A flicker of uncertainty momentarily eclipsed the bravado in Mark's eyes as he hesitated, glancing at his companions for validation. But the seed of doubt had taken root. Pride, however, quickly resurfaced. The compulsion to dominate, to assert his authority, outweighed the warning. He was cornered. Backing down now, before an audience, was unthinkable. "MMA," he scoffed, bravado returning to his tone. "Please, you. All that yoga crap doesn't count." He puffed out his chest, inhaling deeply. "I'm not scared of you, Anya." Closing the space between them, he advanced. "In fact, I think you're full of it." He surged forward, his hand darting out, aiming to seize her blouse. Anya's reaction was instantaneous. Years of disciplined training surged to the fore, muscle memory usurping conscious thought. There was no deliberation, only reflex. The tables turned. Mark's hand shot out, aiming for her shirt collar. Anya reacted without thinking. Years of training, the countless hours spent honing reflexes, kicked in. She didn't clench her fist, didn't rear back to strike. Instead, she stepped inside his reach, her movements fluid and economical. The scent of cheap cologne and stale beer assaulted her nostrils. He was off balance already, fueled by bravado and whatever he'd drunk. She used his own momentum against him, a subtle shift of her weight, a precise placement of her foot against his ankle. It was a textbook sweep, a move she'd executed hundreds of times in the dojo, but never outside its padded walls. Mark yelped, more surprised than hurt, as his feet went out from under him. He landed heavily on the meticulously manicured lawn, the impact driving the air from his lungs. The laughter that had been bubbling in the air died abruptly. Anya took a step back, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The grass, damp from the morning dew, clung to Mark's jeans. He lay there, stunned, blinking up at her with a mixture of disbelief and simmering rage. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice surprisingly steady. She extended a hand. Mark glared at it, then back at her face. He spat a curse, pushing himself up onto his elbows. "You bitch!" he growled, but the fight had gone out of him, replaced by a bewildered anger. Anya kept her hand extended. "Here, let me help you up." He hesitated, the anger warring with a flicker of shame. Finally, he grabbed her hand, his grip surprisingly weak. She pulled him to his feet, maintaining a careful distance once he was upright. Derek and Kevin, who had been watching from the sidelines with predatory grins, started to advance. "Hey, easy there," Derek said, his voice laced with a false concern. "You all right, Mark?" Anya moved, positioning herself between Mark and his approaching friends. She didn't raise her fists, didn't adopt a fighting stance. Instead, she stood tall, her gaze direct and unwavering. The sunlight glinted off the metallic threading of the college logo on her gym shirt. "He's fine," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We just had a misunderstanding." Kevin snorted. "Misunderstanding? He's on the ground, and you're standing over him." He took another step forward. Anya didn't flinch. "He tripped," she said simply. "It happens." She kept her eyes fixed on Derek, the larger and more intimidating of the two. I think it's time for you both to leave. The air crackled with tension. She could feel their hostility, their frustration at being denied the spectacle they'd anticipated. But she also saw a flicker of uncertainty in their eyes. They hadn't expected her to stand up to them, hadn't expected her to be controlled. Derek and Kevin exchanged a look. They knew they were outnumbered now, with other students beginning to watch. A full-blown brawl in the middle of the quad wasn't something they wanted. Not today. Derek smirked, a thin, unpleasant expression. "All right, Petrova," he said. "But this isn't over." He clapped Mark on the shoulder, a gesture that felt more like a reprimand. "Come on, let's go." Mark, still shaken and humiliated, didn't resist. He shot one last venomous look at Anya before turning and limping away with his friends. The scent of fear was almost palpable, mingling with the lingering sweetness of the nearby rose bushes. Kindness and respect. The echoes of taunting laughter, sharp as shattered glass, cut through Anya. Mark's face, mottled with fury and something darker, pressed closer as he surged forward. Instinct, a symphony of reflexes honed over years, took control. She flowed aside, evading his clumsy rush with an ease that belied her hammering pulse. Seizing his advancing arm, she executed a precise twist, a lightning bolt of agony that stole his breath. He gasped, floundering. A swift leg sweep sent him sprawling, the wind escaping his chest in a whoosh. Before he could recover, Anya knelt, her knee a gentle yet unyielding weight across his shoulder blades, pinning him to the yielding earth. The mingled sense of bruised foliage and damp earth swirled around her. His eyes, wide with incredulity tinged with fear, locked onto hers. "Uncalled for," she stated, her voice remarkably even. The adrenaline coursed through her, a chilling stimulant that heightened every sense. She eased the pressure. "I could have broken that arm, Mark. Or worse. Why didn't I?" He grunted, avoiding eye contact. "Because violence is a dead end. Because there are better ways. And because hurting you wouldn't solve a thing. It'd only amplify the ignorance, if that's even possible." She glimpsed something flicker in his expression, not understanding, but a fracture in his facade of aggression. Releasing him completely, she retreated. He lay momentarily, regaining composure, before pushing himself up, brushing off clinging debris. His entourage was subdued, their jeers silenced. "You all right, man?" one mumbled, earning only a dismissive wave. He regarded Anya, a muddled expression of shame and bitterness. "What was that?" he stammered. "Self-preservation," she responded simply. "And a civics lesson. One about decency, about respect, and about thinking before you behave like a you fill in the blank." He shuffled, his manufactured confidence evaporated, exposing raw vulnerability. I didn't mean." "Yes, you did," Anya countered, her tone gentler. "You meant to cow me. You wanted to embarrass me. An attempt to inflate your ego in front of your buddies, maybe even yourself. But guess what, Mark? You only proved you're a garden variety bully." He cringed. All right. I get it. I screwed up. I'm sorry. Seriously." The apology carried a surprising note of sincerity. I don't know. I lose it sometimes." Anya scrutinized him, searching for insincerity. She detected only genuine remorse. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was hope. "An apology buys you a coffee," she said. "It doesn't fix the plumbing. You need to evolve. You need to learn to manage that temper, to value others, especially women." He nodded, eyes glued to the ground. "How?" Anya paused. "Come to the dojo," she proposed. "I'll teach you self-control. Not just physical, but mental. I'll instill some respect. And I'll show you how to channel that whatever demons you're wrestling with into something constructive." His head shot up, astonishment etched on his features. You do that? "If you're serious about self-improvement," Anya affirmed. "And if you vow to treat everyone there with respect. No exceptions." He swallowed, visibly struggling. "Fine," he conceded. "Fine, I promise. I'll be there." A subtle smile touched Anya's lips. "Good. Because this campus needs leaders, not knuckle-draggers." She turned and walked away, leaving Mark stranded amidst his now-mute companions, the sting of his defeat still palpable, yet with a nascent seed of hope and a hefty dose of trepidation flickering within him.